What's up, YouTube? I am Kiki, and I am back with KiKi Speaksss, and this is episode 4 of my podcast series. And I want to speak to you guys about another topic that I feel like is not spoken about often, and that topic is trauma bonds for children that happen because of broken relationships for us as parents. And this is a deep topic because not only do our current children have trauma bonds from our broken relationships, but our kid selves also experience, or may have experienced rather, trauma bonds because of our parents' broken relationships. And one thing that I want to bring about is that I don't know how many other mothers such as myself took heed to Steve Harvey when he made the book Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. And one of his chapters was speaking about the baby mama, right? And in the chapter about the baby mama, it spoke about introducing your children to the guy that you are dating ahead of time. Like not waiting 6 months, 4 months, whatever amount of time down the line, introducing your child to that person, but introducing them right away, and how that's supposed to help the relationship along. I disagree now. Back then, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm all for it, yada, yada, yada. But knowing what I know now, it is not a good thing at all whatsoever. And I should have known this coming from the fact that I was introduced to my mom's boyfriends or whatever growing up. And, their relationships ended and I formed bonds. And my sister or my brother also formed bonds with these men. And because of the relationships ended, it's like, do we stop talking to them? Do we stop dealing with them? Do we stop seeing them? Like, what is it that we're supposed to do? Like, that's just it because you guys are done, so we're supposed to be done? So it makes you think about the relationships that you form. Like I was saying, the past relationship that I had, 7 months, and he got to know my kids got to know him. He was able to see my kids and things, and it was a statement that he made that says that I'm not trying to be a stepfather. And it's like, it clicked in me, like, okay, all right, well, I didn't know that you didn't want to be with a woman with children. I didn't know that you didn't know that the potential of being with a woman with children, it leads to you further taking on that role when we get to that point. So the fact that you're now telling me after I had already introduced my children to you, instead of you letting me know from the beginning that I don't want to ever meet your kids because it's not healthy, or even myself realizing that you meeting my kids and you're not ready, or I'm not ready, or they're not ready, or it's just not there, it's unhealthy. So because we experienced that early on and we both took that step, it's like, okay, well, what happens to the kids? This is not your first time. You've been in a relationship before with women with kids. I've been in a relationship with people with kids or without kids. So it's like, for me, it was a set in stone thing. Like, oh, okay, well, you're in a relationship with a woman with kids, so that means that it's a potential that if we take this further, you could be a stepdaddy, or a stepfather, rather. It's a better term. But anyways, when you get into these relationships, or when we get into these relationships and we have children, we have to think about our children before we make the decision to introduce them to someone. And I say that because of the fact that you cause your children to enter into these situations forcefully and they're not ready. Yeah. You may be ready, The other person may be ready, but they may not be ready. You don't know if they're still holding on to mom, dad, together. You don't know what it is that is within your child unless you actually sit down and communicate with your child and understand, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that when it comes down to mommy or daddy dating someone else? If you don't figure that out, then when that child begins to build a relationship with the person that you're seeing, or the person you're dating, or the person you're in a relationship with, or whatever it may be, and you begin to form those relationships, that child also forms that relationship. It could be a negative one, it could be a positive one. We really don't know because it's on that child, of course. But regardless of the relationship that they form, it builds bonds that lead to trauma when it's broken. If you get into a relationship with someone, you guys are no longer together, what is that child left to do? Sit there and wonder, well, is Jack gonna ever come back and see me? I mean, I know you guys aren't together anymore. I understand what you're saying about that, but what about me? Does Jack not want to see me? Is Jack breaking up with me? Like, what did I do? So when you get into relationships with individuals, and I used to get told this a lot, like, oh, you center your life around your kids. Yes, I do. I am not getting into a relationship with anyone any longer if it does not suit my kids. I have children. I do. And they were given to me as a trust from God. So my thing is, if he trusted them to me, he also trusted me with their feelings and their bonds. So if you have kids, I'm asking you straight up out the gate, like, what interests your kids? Like, what is it that your kids were taught? What did you raise your children to be? Want to know why? Because what affects your child is going to also affect my child. Because if they build a bond or relationship with one another and it doesn't mix, I need to know that off the gate, whether or not it's going to mix or not. So then that way, when I go and I speak to my child and I say, hey, so Billy has a daughter and his daughter is 12 and I know you're 11, so you guys are close in age, but Billy's daughter doesn't like anime, but you like anime, right? But Billy's daughter think the color orange is ugly, but you love orange. Like, these are things that you may see as, oh, that's like, you know, like I'm looking for a word for it and I can't find that word. It's like right there, but I can't pull it out. But it's not meshing. So it's like, if you're getting into these relationships, you're getting into them for the sole purpose of the fact that it's not just about you, it's also about your kid. So if you're gonna build bonds that's actually gonna last. Don't build bonds that are gonna lead to trauma for yourself and for your kids. And do not introduce anyone to your children unless you know for a fact that that's gonna be a powerful bond. Because if it's not, you're gonna just build another trauma bond within your child. Because right now, my kids may have trauma bonds that I have to talk to them about. But it's okay, because guess what? Mommy can talk and they can talk to mommy. So that's my segment for today. I'm not gonna take it too long. I would love to hear you guys' input on trauma bonds, and especially trauma bonds in kids. You know, I want to get everyone's view and perspective on that, because it is something serious and it is something that we don't really discuss often, and especially in the Black community, and it needs to be discussed. I also have some more good topics coming for you guys, so I will see you guys back again on episode 5. So bye.